All right, people. We're live, 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 live. Um, Still not sure why this is happening the way it is. Okay, I'm not centralized. Okay, want to talk a little bit about Restore the Snyderverse, what we as fans can continue to do or do. I'm not sure why this is happening this way though. I'm trying to figure out why it's doing it. No, it's kind of sideways. Is what it is. All right. So we're going to talk about brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk a little bit about uh, what we as fans can do to push, restore the Snyderverse in the direction that we need to push it in. Okay. Um, so I told you guys I was going to do a video tonight. Well, obviously it's now early in the morning where I live. Atlantic Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time. It is now midnight, a little bit after midnight. So I'm doing this a little later than I said I was going to do it, but I'm still going to do this. And it's not going to take too long. I don't want to take too long with these videos because, and the light is not the best lighting in the world, but I think we can live with it. Yeah, let's talk. Now, first of all, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Just type in the chat if you can hear me and you can hear me clearly. If I'm too soft, it could be because of the way how this whole gadget is set up. My volume's probably too low. So if you can't hear me, I'm trying to talk as loud as I possibly can and hope that you hear me that way. I'm turning off the fan that's in here. The night's kind of chilly anyway. All right. So, we want to have a discussion at 12 o'clock in the night about Restore the Snyderverse, what we're going to do as a fandom, what could we do as a fandom, etc. Right? All right. So let me start off by saying doing hashtags on Twitter is cool, but it's not the only thing we should do. First of all, someone who doesn't know about what we're doing, because it's about increasing awareness, will need to know what is the Snyderverse. So what we have to do is put out more and more material showing Zack Snyder Justice League, showing Wonder Woman, showing Batman v Superman, showing Man of Steel. These movies are part of the Snyderverse. And when we show these movies and we highlight what they are and the beauty of what makes this universe so good, and we do this on TikTok, we do this on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and other social media outlets that you guys can think of right now, right? We put it up on all different kinds of social media platforms. Now, if some of you want to, you can design your video in an interesting way. If you don't do videos, well, whatever, you borrow somebody else's video and you copy paste, right? And the idea is to share these videos and so on, give awareness to people. Now, first of all, the Snyder fan is pretty big, so the idea behind it is so that people know what the Snyderverse is, what we're asking to be restored, and also highlighting why we want it restored. You know, not just the reason behind it, but actually showing people what the Snyderverse has to offer, right? And that means actually going into the movies. Um, the other thing we want to do is now we want people who are influencers, uh, major outlets, people who like the movie, who are checkmark people or major people in Hollywood. We want them to start speaking out, and there are a lot of them that admire Zack Snyder's work, that admire what he's doing, um, but they're not speaking up, or they spoke up before, but they're not speaking up again. So we want to have those people also participate. I know certain people are always speaking up, and they're major people in the industry. But we need to also not only get them, but everybody else. Now, I want to talk a little bit about The Rock first of all, because I've been actually on Twitter. I've been addressing James Gunn. I've been addressing The Rock respectfully, both of them. But particularly The Rock seems to be a guy that, if I were to say this, I think he's the guy who I think most likely could fit into the Snyderverse perfectly. All right. When I look at him, his physique, the way how he conducts himself, the way how he wants to do his research for movies and stuff like that, he just seems to be a guy that would perfectly fit into the Snyderverse as Black Adam. I want to call him Rock Adam from here on in. I nickname him Rock Adam, right? And I think that I think he suits Black. I think he suits the character of Black Adam. Um, I just think that it would really serve him very well if he were to start tweeting "Restore the Snyderverse." I don't know what's going on internally with Warner Brothers, but I think that's a good idea. Initially, he wanted to be, form his own universe and lead out in the DCEU, what James Gunn calls the DCU. But I truly believe that um, he would really be served very well. He would do extremely well in the Snyderverse because, um, see, now Black Adam was coming off of Zack Snyder's Justice League. See, this is what a lot of people don't realize, right? And so Black Adam could have really, you know, clo- come close to the $1 billion mark in its debut if it just rode off of Zack Snyder's Justice League hard. If The Rock was promoting Zack Snyder's Justice League and trying to sync up Black Adam with Zack Snyder's Justice League, of course it didn't sync up perfectly. I mean, Aquaman didn't sync up perfectly, but the fact that Jason Momoa was so pushing for the Snyder cut, that big boost that he needed, they got it. Black Adam's the same thing. They made a mistake in a miscalculation in not aligning themselves with what Zack Snyder had done. Zack Snyder pretty much left the framework. He gave everything such a big push with Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Flash movie got a big push. Black Adam got a big push. Ben Affleck does a Batman movie, he gets a big push. Superman, Henry Cavill Superman became relevant because everybody saw him in a great light. He got a big push. Everybody pretty much got a big push off of Zack Snyder Justice League, even though it never made theaters. And the goodwill towards it from critics all the way down to the fans. And you can go on Rotten Tomatoes and see the scores. So that was a big boost. And the miscalculation that The Rock made was trying to do a separate universe to that. That just didn't make any sense to me, seeing that there's so much goodwill towards this Snyder cut. And I don't know if it was an ego thing. I don't know if it was because of Toby Emmerich and Jeff Johns speaking in his ear. But The Rock, he's snapping too now, and you can see that he's saying what he has to say. And you can see that he clashed with James Gunn today. Actually, he clashed with James Gunn. I don't know what James Gunn actually said, but The Rock was like "f off," even though he was very polite with it. And I think that Black Adam is struggling in the theaters, obviously, and they see themselves getting to 375 million, maybe 400 million. But they're going to keep the movie in theaters over the holidays into the next year. Um, and this is an opportunity for us to show The Rock that if you support us on our interest, we will support you. Um, because clearly The Rock wants to be centralized. He was hoping that this new DC would be built off of him. And now there's a contingency plan is basically in James Gunn's hands. But yet The Rock is still trying to fight for a DC that is more like a sort of Snyder-like DC, a more kind of edgy. You could see this is what The Rock wants to go, the direction he wants to go in. Um, the thing about it is, you don't remake the wheel that's already made. You don't try to remake a wheel that's already made. the thing's made for you. The Snyderverse is made for you, Rock. I hope Dwayne The Rock Johnson somehow will see this video. Somebody get it to him. You don't try to remake the wheel. You obviously are copying Man of Steel. You're copying the style because Black Adam is just like Superman. He has super speed and all these kinds of things, and he has magic working on his side. So I understand the Black Adam being something like that. The problem with Black Adam was this, and by the way, there was a lot of similarities between what Zack and Christopher Nolan and David Goyer did with Man of Steel and Black Adam. Nobody's arguing that. But the problem that The Rock has to understand is it's rather stupid to try to do a separate universe to one that could plateau you to tremendous heights because the fans have been telling you, that you know that you should just give Henry Cavill a black suit. Yeah, I know you're the man in black. That's not a problem. Superman's not going to be in the black suit forever, but you're continuing after Zack Snyder's Justice League. So let it transition. He's in the black suit. Let the Hans Zimmer score play. If you want to put John Williams in there, no problem. But make sure you have that Hans Zimmer score in there. That's all you had to do to show continuity that you're riding off the Zack wave. And you would have come close to $1 billion, maybe even hit it. Just like Aquaman. Because one of the things we as Snyder fans love is that you acknowledge what Zack Snyder did is not a mistake, and that you're willing to be cognitively and openly acknowledge Zack Snyder and be a part of what Zack Snyder has brought to the table. Because to have Black Adam in a separate universe says what? What are we talking about here? Right? We'll have a Black Adam universe, and then we'll have a James Gunn universe. What were we really trying to do? So, we as fans need Dwayne The Rock Johnson to understand he's going to fail without our help. We need to get him somehow to understand this. Because of all the people I think that we could actually have a relationship with, even though Dwayne The Rock Johnson's kind of playing both sides, he's playing politics right now, is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'll tell you why. Dwayne has been part of the creative process. James Gunn's been a director, but he wasn't successful in his first debut in the DCEU in terms of theatrical box office. Dwayne, you're still, somebody need to get this to Dwayne. Dwayne, you still have the opportunity to be successful. You have the opportunity to be successful even now. Because let me explain to you. Let me explain to you how this goes. One, you need to not just pull in Henry Cavill, but pull in Zack Snyder. You have the golden opportunity at this point in time, and I know you do your negotiations and stuff with a different, listen, just listen. You have the golden opportunity to start pushing Zack Snyder, whether or not you know or don't know that he will be a part of the universe, because you've been borrowing a lot of things from Zack Snyder and his directorial style. And the whole universe has been built off of Zack Snyder's kind of directorial style. So now is the time to acknowledge it. Now is the time to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League was a brilliant film. Now is the time to just swallow that ego a little bit and be able to acknowledge Zack Snyder. And what we need you to do is lobby for Zack Snyder to come back. We need insiders to do that. And there are a couple insiders. I see a couple of insiders, not big guns, but insiders. We got a Ben Affleck. We got a Gal Gadot insider there. Patty Jenkins. Again, Patty needs to lobby for Zack. We know Christopher Nolan's in there. We know Christopher Nolan is a Zack Snyder advocate. He would advocate for Zack. But we need you guys inside there. If it's a Jason Momoa, if it's whoever. And again, Jason Momoa, you have a good relationship with Peter Safran. We're not trying to tell you not to have a good relationship with him, because you had a relationship with him even when you were pushing for the Snyder Cut to happen. Okay? Now we know there's no Snyder Cut now. We know there's just storyboard. Zack has some storyboards for Justice League 2 and 3. But why do we want Zack Snyder back? Because we want Justice League 2 and 3. Okay? Whatever James Gunn wants to do with the DCU, I don't care. What I am saying though is, when it comes to advocates for this, we need people in the business and we need fans outside. That's how we got the Snyder Cut. We got the Snyder Cut because Ben Affleck tweeted it, Gal Gadot tweeted it, Ray Fisher tweeted it, Jason Momoa tweeted it, right? We had what's the guy's name who played Steppenwolf? He tweeted it. Then Ray Porter, when he was revealed, came online. He started tweeting it. So when everybody's tweeting it, people in the business associated with the film, and then people outside associated with the film. Shout out to the Marvel writer or your Deadpool writer who constantly is a part of our movement. Shout out to him for tweeting it. You know, so when you have these kinds of people in the business tweeting, and you got us, the fans tweeting, then there's a sort of unison. Take for instance with David Ayer's the Ayer cut. Similar thing needs to happen. The Ayer cut, for it to be successful, is people in the business and people outside the business need to be tweeting. And I know in Warner Brothers, there is a substantial portion of the Warner Brothers community that want Zack Snyder back. But the people in the highest positions, and Chris, you know who explained this? Christopher Reeve explained this. This is way back in the 70s, in the 80s. Christopher Reeve was saying the very same thing I said, that Hollywood changed. Once upon a time, the people who were in charge of Hollywood were the people with the executive arm of Hollywood were actually actors, were actually directors, were actually people who did the business. But Hollywood changed, and a certain person was moved out of the business. I can't remember the name of the person, according to Christopher Reeve. And then we got these business people from the business community who have nothing to do with movies who started coming into the movie industry. And these people don't have a passion for movies. They don't have a desire for movies. They just want to make money. And so these people, they come into the industry, don't know what they're doing, and that is why we get what we get. They want formulas, and they want formulas of success. And usually they don't trust the audience, according to Christopher Reeve. This is way back in the 1990s, 1980s I'm talking about. Go check out the interviews on YouTube. You can just go Google Christopher Reeves. Christopher Reeves talked about Superman having dimension and how, you know, what Richard Donner wanted to do with Superman and Superman 2, and how Christopher Reeves was supposed to sort of supposed to expand outwards. It wasn't supposed to just be comedy anymore. Yes, he would have comedy in it, but they wanted to explore the character of Superman, Clark, and Kal-El in more detail. Christopher Reeve wanted a Superman like that, okay? Now, anyway, but Christopher Reeve was also an actor who, you know, wanted to explore as much as he could in acting. So he liked risky, challenging roles. Now, back to us and what we can do. So that's the first. So there are two things here. One, we want to educate the community. So we want to do more of the things we love. So instead of paying attention to detractors and people who want to detract and stuff like that, we need to focus more. We need to fine tune and focus in on what our love is, what our passion is. Show people what these movies are. Let them know what the Snyderverse is. Okay. High profile people, we want them on our side. We want to try and get them in there and get them tweeting. We want to get them in there, have them doing videos or mentioning the Snyderverse in interviews. We want restore the Snyderverse to become part of pop culture again. Sort of like what happened with Release the Snyder Cut, right? That became part of pop culture. We want restore the Snyderverse to become a hashtag that becomes a part of pop culture. The next thing we need to do is always have fun activities. We need to have fun while this is happening. We need to have more fun activities. So, you know, art competitions like we had before, you know, funding, not just AFSP, but funding other art events, helping artists who have potential, and we realize that. Hopefully speaking to different people so they can get connections, whoever has connections in the fandom, because I know the fandom is pretty broad and wide, and there are a lot of people here who could probably hire these people. This is what we need to do. Network with one another, and really, instead of trying to just critique everything, enjoy ourselves. Okay? Have some fun. Get the hashtag, get the sign up, in big sporting events. If you get in the Super Bowl, again, the guys usually fly the planes and stuff like that. I haven't seen Cut Ahmed in a while, but hopefully he's okay. Um, we need to keep that going. We cannot afford to stop the campaign. We need to keep the momentum going, but we need to expand even bigger. The release the Snyder Cut community became so huge that we're not coordinating properly anymore. All right, and we have a number of channels. I see channels popping up every single day, speaking about Restore the Snyderverse. But the problem with this is that they're not coordinated, and we have to start coordinating with each other. Whoever has different agendas, we cannot afford to speak down on each other. If we're all trying to make money here, we're all trying to work together, then we need to, once somebody's helping with the cause and they're not trying to rip people off or whatever, we need to stay united. So you'll never see me speak bad about Cillin and Mikey Sutton. You'll never hear me speak bad about them. I don't care if people talk about Scoopers, whatever. They're part of the team. They're part of our team. They may not have the exact approach as I have. They may not have the exact approach that you have. Where we come to agreement on something, we work together. Okay? So let's not try to sabotage each other in this thing, because that's how movements get destroyed. And that, of course, our enemy would love to see that happen. So there's no one person leading this movement. The next thing, so again, this is platform wide. We need to go everywhere in social media we possibly can and spread this message about Restore the Snyderverse. Then, what can we do offline? In your respective places, in your respective countries, have one or two events, or print something on your t-shirt, have t-shirts printed or whatever, so that people can have an awareness about Restore the Snyderverse and where we want to go with this. Okay, so that, again, as much awareness as possible. The more people can become aware, the more this thing can become a big thing, so that it ends up on major television networks, or major things where it's actually talked about, or major trades, major things like that. That's what we want to happen. Now, besides that, we as fans need to also respect other fandoms. It's like the Alita movie. People want to see a Alita movie done. Some people are talking about the Schumacher cut. We need to have some respect for those guys as well. And so where we can, let's try to, especially the Alita Army, they've been so supportive of us. I would really like to see a sequel to the Alita movie. We need to also incorporate these people, embrace them, and let them know that we are also there to support them in their ventures. Now, it calls for a certain amount of coordination, and I know on Twitter, I think it is December the something, we're supposed to have Restore the Snyderverse, bring back Zack Snyder, make the Batfleck movie. That's the next big event. But besides that Twitter thing, we need to also move outside of Twitter, all over social media, every single kind of social media platform. And we need everybody on board with this. Okay? Whether you liked Black Adam, whether you didn't like Black Adam, is irrelevant. What right now we're focused on is restoring the Snyderverse. And what do we mean by restore the Snyderverse? Okay, so everybody out there, this is how simple we can say it. The Snyderverse was, at the time, they used to call it the Murderverse as well, was the set of movies that came out under Zack Snyder. Okay? So you had Man of Steel. Zack Snyder was kind of organizing and coordinating that universe at the time. So we had Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Studio Squad, but whatever, Wonder Woman, and then Aquaman. Okay? Those are the movies. Not Justice League 2017, because that was not under Zack Snyder, but James Wan was one of the original directors under Zack Snyder. So it was Zack Snyder, it was James Wan, Patty Jenkins, it was Eric Fumoye, but he's no longer there, so it is what it is. And then we had, who did I miss out? Ben Affleck, because he was supposed to do his Batman movie. Who else did that's everybody? I think that's everybody. Patty, James, Ben, Rick Fumoye, the dope guy, and Zach. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and David Ayer. Okay? That was how it was supposed to go down. Now, David Ayer didn't get his cut of the movie out, so even though Studio Squad did pretty good, let's not get twisted, it did pretty good. But even though Studio Squad did pretty good, and Studio Squad is sort of like a part of the Snyderverse. Um, Studio Squad is not the original version that David Ayer wanted, so that's why we asked for the Ayer cut, and that's why it's part of the Snyderverse, because it really the Ayer cut is going to be part of the Snyderverse because the Studio Squad was part of the Snyderverse. One of the early films, Zack Snyder was overseeing that universe, but for some reason David Ayer didn't get his vision out that he's supposed to get. Then you have Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman. So when we talk about the Snyderverse now and restoring it, this is what we mean. What restoring the Snyderverse simply means this: that we want David Ayer to get his version of the movie out, and then we also want the continuity of Zack Snyder's two movies, which is Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and Zack Snyder Justice League 3. Okay? Now, of course, Ben Affleck was also one of the directors in the original Snyderverse, and Ben never got to do his movie. So that's why we say make the Batfleck movie. Okay? So when we're talking about restore the Snyderverse, this is what we mean. We mean set it right. Now, Zack Snyder's movie is going to end, and at the end of that, there were supposed to be some other movies that were coming out. It was a Green Lantern movie and a Cyborg movie that was supposed to come out. The Flash movie was supposed to come out after that. The Flash movie that's coming out now is not part of the Snyderverse, and I'll explain to you why. Because the original director, which was Rick Famuyiwa, he's no longer directing that movie. This is some other guy. And they've done so many changes to it. It's going to be a big old mess. I don't think that movie's going to come out good at all. Based on the track record of WBD and what they did with Black Adam, I know this Flash movie's not coming out good. James Gunn should be really working on that. He should be focused on trying to fix that. And I don't think it's fixable. It is what it is. Then you have after the Flash movie, or a little before the Flash movie, I think there's another movie that's coming out. I think it's not Blue Beetle. It's something else. What is it? I don't remember. I can't remember. But anyway, you have the Flash movie. Then you have Blue Beetle. Then you have I believe it's Shazam. Shazam comes out before that. So Shazam is the next movie. Now Shazam, even though it's an Armada project, it's actually coming out at the right time, sort of like. It's a sequel to Shazam. That's the only Hamada movie that actually did well so far, and that's because David F. Sandberg really tried to follow what Zack was doing. Anyway, so what we as fans can do is we are trying to get the original movies from the Snyderverse completed, which would have been the David Ayer cut needs to get done. Ben Affleck's Batman movie never came out. Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3 haven't come out. Okay? And then if you want to extend it even further, you can talk about the Cyborg movie and the Green Lantern movies. Now they're talking about Green Lantern series instead of Green Lantern movies. Okay, whatever. But the concept and the idea and the tone should be in the tone of the Snyderverse if we're talking about it being in the Snyderverse. But basically, the long and short of it is that's what the Snyderverse is. And there's other frills like the Adam movie and all the things that's been on the Zack Snyder Justice League that maybe you could explore. But pretty much the Snyderverse is Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3, the Ayer cut, and the Batfleck movie. Right? Those should be Snyderverse movies. They may not be. Okay? All right. And smash that like button. Don't forget you can donate via PayPal. All right. So that is basically it. So that when we ask to restore the Snyderverse, we're talking about really Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3, the Ayer cut, and Ben Affleck's Batman movie, but that's still optional. We just want the skeleton, the fringe, the least amount of it, which is just let the Ayer cut go into cinemas, let the Snyder cut go into cinemas, and then let Zack finish his 2 movies, right? That's it at its bare minimum. So that's what we mean when we say restore the Snyderverse. We're not talking about all those ancillary movies like the Atom that could come off of it, New Gods that could come off of it, Green Lantern movie could come off of it, Martian Manhunter movie coming off of it, that kind of thing. No, we're just talking about just the bare minimum, which is Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3, the Air Cut, and a Ben Affleck movie. That's it. Not even a Deathstroke movie, right? Just the bare minimum. But still, having said all of that, I want you to understand that's what Restore the Snyderverse is about. That's what the Snyderverse is. Now, it's important for people to know that and to know it globally. Okay, so we have to get that message out very clearly to people out there because people say, well, what is Restore the Snyderverse? Well, that's what it is. And once we're clear on that, then the next thing we have to do is ensure that that hashtag goes everywhere, along with AFSB, of course, along with fun. Let's have fun doing this. Okay, let's be creative. Let's get our creative juices going. I see some people put up songs, and I see some people doing some really beautiful art, and let's just keep that going. Let's keep that positivity going. Let's show people that the Snyderverse is a positive thing. It's a great thing, and let's have a ball with it. All right, not just on Twitter, but on Facebook, all the social media platforms. Let's start flooding social media with it. So that is the goal. And off of social media, we need to have T-shirts and stuff, just like how we did before. And the people who were doing the T-shirts, that Zach was raising for AFSB, we could do that. People, again, you can make your own money off of it by doing your own T-shirt. I don't care what you do, but keep the movement going, and don't watch at circumstances. Doesn't matter who's in charge of Warner Bros. Doesn't really matter. That has nothing to do with you continuing to give the message of what you want. Okay, so continue doing what you want, giving message what you want. For me, I'm going to put up some really interesting videos on YouTube. I'm mostly using short videos, 15 seconds, but I'll do some more longer videos like this stream here that I promised you guys I would do. We as fans just have to keep it going, but we need to get the whole fandom activated and the whole fandom occupied. We need everybody on board. Everybody, Now, what's the case with The Rock and Black Adam? So this is how it goes. Rock, we need you to use the hashtag on Twitter, Restore the Snyderverse. We also need you to mention Zack Snyder and just positive sentiments about him coming back to the DCEU. You need to keep on saying that. Not only Henry Cavill, but also Zack Snyder. And we need that because if we have Zack Snyder back in the DCEU directing Justice League 2 and 3, which is the bare minimum, then guess what? Everybody's going to be on board because we know we're going to get those movies. But if, Zack's not coming back, then some people might be on board, some people won't be on board in the Snyder fandom. And so you want to have the optimum, man. I keep on telling you, The Rock, you're dropping the ball. Don't drop the ball on this one. Restore the Snyderverse. Join us in saying Restore the Snyderverse. Join us because you belong in the Snyderverse, and you would have a tremendous role. And of course, Zach would be very happy to have you, as Black Adam in there. That's another great character in there. So absolutely, and Zach will do you right. He won't mess up your character. So I'm just saying, if you really want your movie to do well, and you want the Snyderverse fandom to support your movie, all you had to do was say Restore the Snyderverse and get Warner Brothers on board to get Zack Snyder back. And then make sure there's a proper movie that's made. So all I'm saying is, if Dwayne The Rock Johnson really wants to do something, you start using that hashtag. And the moment you start using that hashtag on Twitter, we're going to just suddenly start supporting your Black Adam movie. And you may see a resurrection. You may just see a surge in views all of a sudden. Your box office just starts to pick back up. Okay? And your Black Adam box office could do even better. So instead of, just trying to get people into cinemas to see your movie, in spite of the fact that Superman has a blue suit, people may still go into the cinema and watch your movie if you simply use the hashtag and start religiously campaigning for that. Not only Henry Cavill, but also for Zack Snyder. You start campaigning for Zack Snyder, it's a foregone conclusion you're going to get support from everybody. All of a sudden, everybody's going to support you. And right now, the fact that you're pushing back on James Gunn right now, people kind of like that. So, I mean, you might just get goodwill if you just would do what the gutsy move. You got to do the gutsy move, and you do the gutsy move, we will back you up because we want Zack Snyder back. So that's all I got to say to James Gunn. Jason Momoa did that, and his Aquaman movie did great. You do the same. Your movie will do great, I do believe. I don't know if there's nothing else because there's nothing else we can do, you know. And if your movie does well, then I'm sure Warner Bros. Will take note of that. So Dwayne the Rock Johnson should listen about this because we need people who can advocate for the Snyderverse. That's all I got to say for now. There's some other things I want to say, but I think I'll put them in. I'll put them in print in the community section about some other things that can be done, some nuts and bolts. But the general idea is more awareness, but not just blanket more awareness. Awareness of what the Snyderverse is, what it is we're going to restore, also what makes the Snyderverse so great, which will be done in actual clippings and footage from the movies, and to show people what really happened, and then to understand why we as fans love this thing so much. We're not gonna compare ourselves to the most recent set of movies that flopped. No, we're just gonna focus on the Snyderverse for now. We want to stay chiseled in and focusing on what we want. Same thing for Alita Battle Angel sequel seekers. You guys need to start dialing into Alita Battle Angel and start posting up videos on YouTube, posting up videos on other social media outlets. Let people see your passion for it and let them see the beauty of Alita Battle Angel and what makes it the first in terms of female uh, 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 um, protagonists who, you know, take it to another level. And besides, it's not even a female protagonist because when you think about it, it's a machine. So that's kind of cool too. So that's all I got for you guys. Uh, I hope that you guys have a good night. I am sleepy, and I am Christ. I am just aka Anson Phillip. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be able to do maybe 2 or 3 more videos on different aspects of Restore the Snyderverse and different aspects of the movies. You know, Batman v Superman for me is a very special movie, and I don't know how loud my volume is. Hopefully, my volume is loud enough, but uh, it's a very special movie to me as well. But my favorite movie of all time right now, in terms of comic book movies, is Zack Snyder Justice League because of just the way how it resolves everything with BVS and Man of Steel and so on. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I'll check you guys later. Have a blessed night. Happy Thanksgiving once again to one and all. We have a lot to be thankful for, that we're healthy, we're safe, and we're still here in the land of the living. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.